Thank you.
She do it. I thought you were talking about. Not that issue again.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Orot Teshuvah, the Lights of Return. Today we're going to finish off Perek Dalet. We're talking about Rav Kook's really central idea. It's perhaps one of the most foundational and powerful ideas in his presentation of Teshuvah, that Teshuvah is not simply a certain behavior that we engage in where we repent. We attempt to rectify the negative behaviors that we've engaged in, but it is actually a kind of cosmic force in the universe that's propelling all the universe forward towards rectification. And this idea has such powerful implications on every level. One of the most powerful ideas, and I've used this analogy before, it's good I'm leaving pretty soon because you've heard all my jokes, all my foundational Torahs. It's like I'm spent. It's like, okay, I can go somewhere else. Nobody knows me. I have 4 years of material. When I'm
write a new one
after 4. No, that's it. I'm old. It's limited. So the tshuva seems like a kind of an impossible task. If anybody's who tried to correct themselves, work on their character, work on their habits, etc., seems like such an uphill battle. And that's not to minimize the challenge of it, but based upon this idea of cosmic tshuva. So the analogy that undoubtedly you've heard me use before is like a surfer, right? So anybody who's tried to surf, which I can't really say I did. I actually went out in the ocean in Israel with my kids last summer. We rented surfboards. I consider myself extraordinarily brave for the willingness to lay down on the board and kind of like flow with the wave, right? But I didn't dare to try to stand up. But so I found that sufficiently challenging. But the point I want to make is that when a person surfs, so there's a certain very serious challenge, and that is to stay on top of the board without falling over. But once you're on that board, you're riding the wave. That's what tshuva is. It's not an impossible task because there's a rhythm, there's a current of tshuva in the entire world. It's in the atmosphere. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is propelling the world forward. So the challenge is to stand up on the board. But once we're on the board, we're riding the wave. It's not going against the stream. It's not the whole world is pitted against us and we're trying to rectify ourselves against insurmountable odds. It's not true. There's a struggle. We got to stand up on the board. But in fact, when we stand on the board, we're actually riding the wave of the undercurrent of cosmic forces in the entire universe.
That's just that first step. To get that first step on that board, like just bringing that 1 foot up. It's the beginning of it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest.
Yeah, that's the hardest. Right. And after that, we're in rhythm with the entire universe. Okay. So we're just now doing the last sentence here of so we're in chapter 4, and it's in subsection 11. Okay, so chapter 4, subsection 11. It's just the very last sentence there. He says the following: "V'nimtza or haolam kulo." So it turns out, based upon all of our discussion, that the light of the entire world, the chidusho, and its renewal, l'chol tzurotav, l'chol zman v'idan, in all of its forms and in every time, b'tshuva hu talui, is dependent upon tshuva. Everything that's happened in the world is tshuva. Right? This is a central point that Rav Kook made in the very beginning of his introduction to Orot Teshuvah, the Lights of Return. Tshuva is not one of the 613 mitzvot. It's everything. It's the be-all and end-all of existence and of our lives. It's not one detail. I was talking to somebody recently who was the person mentioned certain challenge and happened to be not dealing with this person but with somebody else, and the person mentioned the necessity to do tshuva as part of one's Jewish journey. It's not like, hey, you know what, I'm going to put on a yarmulke. But tshuva, that's like, but like really returning to God and correcting my really deep character problems. Okay, yeah, I don't know. That's one of the 613. I'm not ready for that. That's only 1 out of 613. What percentage is 1 out of 613? That's small. If I gave Larry a few seconds to probably figure out the exact percentage. Right? That's not the way it works. Rectifying character is not 1 out of 613. It's the end all and be all of our existence. It's the ultimate barometer of who we are. Now, there's 2 aspects to this idea of this phrase, b'tshuva hu talui. Everything's dependent upon tshuva. See, there's, the analogy that we gave about riding the surfboard? So, every analogy is just an analogy. It only goes so far. So I don't really got an analogy for the next thing I want to say. Maybe you'll help me out. There's an amazing thing about teshuvah. So I'm going to fix the analogy, but what I'm going to say is not true in terms of the analogy. But it is true cosmically. With that totally bizarre introduction, I'll say my point. Imagine that when you get on the surfboard, that when you're riding the wave, it actually intensifies the wave. Like a feedback system. Now, that doesn't really happen in reality, as far as I know, right? So there's this underlying wave in the ocean, and tshuva is getting on the struggle, get on the board and then ride the wave. Now, imagine if once you're on that wave, right? Now you've done tshuva, right? So that somehow that you're radiating energy into that current, which then magnifies the intensity and speed of that wave and the power of that wave. So that's what tshuva does. The whole world has this wave, this undercurrent of tshuva. When we do the struggle of getting up on the tshuva board, the tshuva surfboard, it actually intensifies, magnifies, makes more powerful the underlying current and wave of tshuva in the cosmos. So it's like a feedback system. Is that kind of a clear point? Mm-hmm. So when Rav Kook here says that everything is dependent upon tshuva, so it means that in 2 senses. One is that everything that happens in the world is in some way an expression of this underlying current, but it's also dependent upon our own personal tshuva, that our own personal tshuva can magnify that force of tshuva, of forward propulsion in the world. Levi Avram, how you doing over there? If you're too quiet, I get worried. Can you grunt just a little bit? I didn't hear a grunt. Good, that was perfect. Okay. Okay. V'kal v'chomer orosho Mashiach. So everything is dependent upon teshuvah, and even more so, what's dependent upon tshuva? The light of Mashiach, the light of Messiah is dependent upon tshuva. Yeshuatam Yisrael, the salvation of Israel. Tchiyat huma va'aretz, the renaissance of the nation, the resurrection of the nation and the land. Hasafah, the Hebrew language. Hasifrut, literature. Shakol mimakor tshuva yotzei. Everything is flowing an expression of tshuva. The Mashiach is an expression of tshuva. The salvation of Israel is an expression of this force of tshuva. The renaissance of the nation and the land. The Hebrew language, literature. Shakol mimakor tshuva yotzei. Everything is coming from the source of teshuvah, of return, of this cosmic force, this cosmic wave in the universe. Umi mamakim el miromei hatshuva hayonah yuval. And from the very depths to the very heights of supernal tshuva, they come. Okay, now I want to take these ideas and then analyze them a little bit deeply. Okay. So, Rav Kook mentioned Orosh HaMashiach, the light of Messiah. Right? That's a function of tshuva. It's an expression of this tshuva wave and the feedback system of our own doing tshuva. So I want to share with you a beautiful idea. See, we sometimes think of Mashiach as this kind of sudden thing, like things are really rotten, they couldn't get worse, and like, oh, you know, we're gonna like wake up one morning and I sprouted wings, I can fly. Oh, Mashiach must have come, right? And maybe will happen, but that's only in terms of the external appearance of Mashiach. What's really happening? So the analogy that Rav Shlomo Aviner gives is really a very powerful analogy. It says the following: imagine an egg.
I was thinking gestation.
Oh my God, this is spooky again. So imagine an egg. See, an egg, it just doesn't come out of nowhere, right? The egg first, is in the hen. It's hatched, not hatched, but I don't even know what the word is. When it comes out of the hen, what's it? Laid. Thank you. Not much of a farmer. So the egg is laid, and then you know what happens? Way not done. The hen has to incubate it, hover over the egg, and then at a certain stage, the egg cracks open, and there's a little chick inside there. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that happen. That's pretty wild. So you can imagine like a child who sees the Tyrannosaurus coming out of its egg. There's some kind of movie like that, right? So the child only sees this eruption, right? Like, whoa, there wasn't a Tyrannosaurus, baby Tyrannosaurus a minute ago, and all of a sudden they're cracked out of this hiddenness of the shell, this baby Tyrannosaurus. But we know, because we're so sophisticated, that this was a process of gestation that took so long, right? Inside the body of the hen, and then the egg, and then the hen laying on the egg, sitting on the egg, whatever it is, the whole thing. Okay, that's Mashiach. It's not that it pops out of nowhere, that there's a kind of gestation that is happening, that the egg of Mashiach is right now in a period of gestation. Everything that we do, both the cosmic forces that are operating on their own and the feedback system of every time we do something positive, every time we do a rectification of our own personality traits and behaviors, that's furthering the gestation, but invisibly, right? But we know it's happening. So everybody, I want everybody to have this image for today. Think of ourselves as a hen sitting on the egg of Messiah. That's kind of a weird image, but I think that's a good takeaway. We are all going to be the mother hen, and then we are sitting on the egg of Mashiach. We are furthering the period of gestation. And then when there's that breaking through the shell, it's not because it's, whoa, how'd that happen? Oh, these are forces which were brewing underneath the surface. Okay. Now I want to go one step further, and that is just even the term that Rav Kook uses, the light of Mashiach. Where does that come from, that phrase, light of Mashiach? Nice, sounds good. Light is a good thing. We always like that term. But it's actually a midrash. I want to share with you that midrash, one of the most powerful midrashim. It says the following: Midrash Rabbah. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman patach ki anuchi yadati et hamakashavot. I know thoughts. Asher anochi choshev aleichem, that I'm thinking about you. Num Hashem, so says the Lord. Machshavot shalom, thoughts of peace, v'lo l'ra, not of evil, lateit lachem achrit v'tikva, to give you an end in hope, to give you a hopeful end. So God says, I know the thoughts. And I have thoughts for good, not for evil, to give you a hopeful end. It's God thoughts, divine thoughts. So that's a pasuk. That's a pasuk from the prophet Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. So now the Midrash says the following. Shvatim hayu asukim b'chmirto shel Yosef. One of the most difficult episodes in Jewish history is the strife between the brothers, in which the brothers sold Yosef into slavery, tried to kill him, sold him to slavery. V'Yosef haya asuk b'sako b'tanito. What's Yosef doing at that moment? He is preoccupied with sackcloth and mourning, right? He's lamenting his state. If I were Yosef, I would not be in a good mood at this juncture. So everybody's preoccupied. The brother who preoccupied with getting rid of Yosef. Yosef is preoccupied with grieving this situation that he's in. Ruvain hayas asuk b'sako b'tanito. Ruvain is in sackcloth and ashes. He's completely bummed out. What just happened? He's a leader. He on some level tried to save Yosef, but not completely. Nothing simple. Everything's so complex. Yaakov hayasuk b'sako b'tanito. Yaakov is grieving. Yaakov is mourning the loss of his son Yosef, his precious son Yosef. Yehuda hayos asuk likach lo isha. And Yehuda, he's looking for a wife. Everybody's preoccupied. Everything's falling apart. If you would have been a CNN reporter on the scene there, this is almost as ugly as the debates for the Republican primaries. This is, I know, maybe it's not that bad. The world's falling apart. The world's falling apart. So the Midrash continues. So everybody's preoccupied, right? All the sons are preoccupied getting rid of Yosef. Yosef is in mourning. Ruvain's in mourning. Yaakov is in mourning. Yudah's looking for a wife. What's Kadosh Baruch Hu doing? The Midrash continues. Kadosh Baruch Hu haya osek borei oro shel melech Mashiach. What's God doing? He's preparing the light of Messiah. That's the term. That's where it comes from. Kadosh Baruch Hu haya osek borei oro shel melech Mashiach. He is preoccupied with creating the light of Messiah. What does that mean? What is this from? Breshit Rabbah, from our Talmudic sages, right? What does that mean? There's all of this static. Everybody's preoccupied and distracted by their own pain and by the things that they think are important in their own lives, and nothing is coherent, and the world is going to pot. Everything is crazy. You know what's happening? God is taking all of those pieces, and all of that insanity is coming together to create the light of Mashiach in ways that we could never see. It's like a puzzle. Imagine a child doesn't know anything about jigsaw puzzles, right? So we're adults, so we have a little bit better perspective. Imagine you take the piece of the jigsaw puzzle, you just throw them on the ground. They just look at it. It's just chaos. But we know because we have PhDs. So we know that all of those pieces of the puzzle, it's not incoherent, disparate, chaotic. Each one of those pieces looks in a vacuum like that. But from the larger point of view, it's all coming together to create, in an amazing way that's very hard to appreciate, coherence, directionality. And that's this term of Orosh Moshiach. So all of these things that are happening in the world, there's an incubation process happening. It all seems so coherent and chaotic. But we have faith that all of these pieces of the puzzle are coming together to create Or Rosh HaMashiach, the light of the ultimate rectification of what otherwise seems like an insane world. With this, we will conclude today's session and continue tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.
Now, tomorrow we're going to John.